To be a Steeler is to consider others before you consider yourself. To protect your brother, even from himself. To give support at your own expense. And when wearing the black and gold suit of armor, and make sure nobody desecrates it, disrespects it. Most importantly, we ourselves don't dishonor it. From previous legends who have donned the black and gold. These virtues I learned while playing for the Steelers are what make the legacy of the black and gold timeless. They are passed down in the locker room from the steel curtain to anyone who valiantly wears the black and gold. Creating a brotherhood that is deeper than money, business, and winning. To be a Steeler is to consider others before you consider yourself. This is our culture, Steeler culture. Now, here are your hosts, Rob and Dan, the Steel Twins.
Steeler Nation, what is going on? Thank you guys for tuning in on this Friday the 13th for yet another edition of the Steeler Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. This episode is brought to you by and powered by our great friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and we are here to discuss and break down the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles matchup. And I'll tell you what, bro, this matchup is the biggest test to date for this Pittsburgh Steelers team.
It is, but at the same time, it doesn't really mean a lot in the grand scheme of things. The answer is really no.
The only thing that's really on the line for the Steelers is to officially clinch a playoff spot.
Yes, a win versus the Eagles would clinch them a playoff spot regardless of who wins the AFC North. Because there's still a chance the Ravens could come back and the Steelers could choke the rest of the season, but a win versus the Eagles this weekend, this Sunday, would clinch a playoff spot regardless. But it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean a lot in the grand scheme of things because this is out of conference. This is the last out of conference game that the Steelers have for the entire season, for the rest of the season. So it doesn't mean so much, but at the same time, it does because you still need victories. You still need confidence. You need a win to get into the playoffs officially. And frankly, you need to show some legitimacy at this stage of the season.
Yeah, and considering you're going up against an NFC opponent, which, I mean, depending on who you ask, this could very well be a potential Super Bowl matchup this upcoming season based on how these two teams have performed and what their records are showcasing.
I mean, never rule anything out in regards to that statement.
I bring it up. I mean, like, this is a credible NFC team that has a lot of talent, and they have showcased it. Not only on defense, but surely on that offense.
Surely on that offense, and we all know one particular.
We all know who.
Reason why. We will discuss it. We will get into Saquon Barkley and the Eagles, man. The Eagles are 11-2. They've won 9 straight after losing, getting blown out by the Bucs before their bye. But keep in mind, they didn't have A.J. Brown nor Devonta Smith in that game, and they've been healthy ever since, and they've won 9 straight games, and where they're at right now, they're arguably the best team in the entire NFC. If you want to argue Lions, feel free to do so, but the Eagles are definitely up there. But are they beatable? Yes. I believe the Eagles are beatable, and
I just look at last week's matchup against the Panthers.
Exactly.
I'm not saying the Panthers are downright terrible, but I mean the Panthers have been playing better, and they took Philly to the limit. All it took was an Xavier Legette drop for Philly to lose, to Philly to lose to Carolina.
Well, you also look at, the Panthers took the Chiefs to the limit, and the Chiefs have been kind of shaky the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So this goes to show you, any given Sunday, and I know the Steelers are in Philly, they have not won in Philly since 1965. It has been 59 years and nearly 2 months since they have won in Philly. For context, Art Rooney II, our owner, was 13 years old. He's now, 72?
It's been a long time. It has been a long time.
Yes. So when you look at it in that, and by the way, the previous games that the Steelers have had happen in Philly have not been good. They haven't even been close, as a matter of fact. But one thing we've always said throughout this entire season, I still firmly believe this team's different. And I am not expecting a win this weekend. I'm not, because I just don't know if we can really beat the Eagles with where we stand right now and how many injuries we have and who we don't have playing, which we'll get into shortly. But I'm not expecting a win, but I'll tell you right now, I am cautiously optimistic. I am going into this game feeling just a little bit hopeful, because something about this game just speaks like upset is written all over it. I don't know why. I'm feeling a little optimistic about the Steelers potentially pulling off the upset in Philly, beating the Eagles for the first time in Philly in almost 60 years with Russell Wilson leading this team. But they will be without George Pickens, DeShon Elliott, and Larry Ogunjobi. Those are 3 crucial members to this team that will be out. We will discuss all that. But thank you guys for joining us this Friday night, this Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th. Hope you guys had a strong week, or you hope you guys are having a strong December, having a good holiday season. So shout out to you guys for joining us in the chat tonight. We appreciate you guys as always. Let's get a poll in the chat. Let's get a poll in the chat to get some engagement going. What poll are you specifically thinking?
I want to get one involving Saquon Barkley here.
Okay.
How many yards do the Steelers give Saquon Barkley, or allow to Saquon Barkley?
Okay.
Because, the Steelers defense, when it comes to their rush defense, just quickly, they, I believe, are 4th ranked in rush defense. They only allow just a little over 91 yards per game. So rush defense is pretty strong. But again, they're going to be out. They're going to be without some crucial starters there. But
they will, they are, especially on that defense.
But it's not like that they haven't experienced playing some top-tier backs. They went up against Derrick Henry, and they limited him pretty well, too.
Sure did. But I don't know. Something about Barkley, man. Something about Barkley. He's just, he's a different demon this year. I don't know what the hell the Giants were thinking, paying Daniel Jones all that money and letting this guy walk. And here we have Saquon Barkley, arguably, in my opinion, MVP of the entire season.
You can make that argument.
Well, we'll get into all the discussion. Hell yeah, man. Shout out to Dirty Details with the 499. Says, let's fucking go, boys. The more physical team will win. And the Steelers have played physical all year, man. They've been very resilient. They've been determined. They have rallied from behind numerous times this year. And from where we stand, from where the Eagles stand and where the Steelers are at and who's out and the injuries that they're suffering, the Steelers, the odds are against them, but they've rallied from worse this season. So perhaps, maybe, somehow, some way, they can pull off the upset. I'm a little hopeful. We'll discuss it. But again, thank you guys, for joining us for this live stream. Huge shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us on this very live stream as we preview the Steelers versus Eagles matchup for Week 15. It is Week 15 already. We are in the last month of the regular season, the last little stretch of the regular season where stuff gets very important. As you see, we got all the Week 15 matchups here, all the money lines, all the point spreads, all the over-unders. We got some interesting games here, man. We got the Commanders and Saints, Dolphins and Texans should be very interesting, and that kind of has some stakes regarding to the Steelers. Same thing with the Colts and the Broncos, which are happening around the same time as the Steelers and the Eagles. And when you look at those two, the Steelers are indeed the underdog. Now, I want to keep in mind, I want to tell you guys a quick little stat. The Steelers have actually won 7 straight games as the underdog. And you look at their odds right now, man. 4-point, underdogs. The over-under is 42. If you feel very confident, if you have just a little bit of optimism, or if you have that itch that maybe somehow the Steelers can win the Battle of Pennsylvania, win the Battle of the Keystone State, feel free to take that wager, man. I'm kind of partial to doing that myself. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, especially when you look at the not only the point spread here, but the betting lines for Russ and Calvin Austin, and of course Najee Harris, because Calvin Austin will be not exactly the number one, but he's the guy that a lot of people are probably going to lean on to because he'll probably get more of the targets. I mean, he only got 1 last week, but I would imagine that number is going to be increased this week. But Russ's over-under for passing yards is just under 200.
And it's not hard to see why Philly's defense, is statistically number 1 ranked. And their passing defense is very good too.
I mean, their team overall is good. So these lines are actually decently low. So if you feel very confident in any of these, feel free to do so and taking some wagers at BetUS, man. Take advantage of their 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% on your next 2 deposits when you use that promo code YouTube150 when signing up at BetUS.com today. Take advantage of all those great perks from our friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. I want to shout them out for sponsoring with us this live stream. Just please gamble responsibly. Before we get into the Eagles and Steelers, I want to discuss the injuries regarding the Steelers. They will be without 3 crucial members. They will be without their top field stretcher. They'll be without their top safety, specifically box safety. And they'll be without a gap filler, a run stuffer, and Larry Ogunjobi, who's been healthy all season up until this point. Same thing with Elliott and same thing with Pickens. We're going to start with Pickens. As we know, literally a week ago to the day, George Pickens tweaked his hamstring in practice, and it kept him out of the Browns game. The Steelers hilariously still beat the Browns without Pickens. They will be without Pickens for a second straight game, man. This is Pickens, his second only missed game his entire NFL career. And it's so strange that a hamstring injury is so severe. It took him out 2 straight weeks. He didn't even practice all week. And the dreaded hamstring is contagious to DeShon Elliott because he suffered the same injury. He didn't practice all week due to a hamstring injury.
Nope.
And Larry Ogunjobi didn't practice all week due to the dreaded groin injury. So you look at all those 3 losses, those are severe because 2 of those guys on that defense are going to be huge guys, or we're going to be huge guys that are trying to slow down Saquon Barkley. The Steelers will be without both of them, and they're going to be without their top field stretcher when they need to match the Eagles offense as much as they can. So it'll be interesting to see in regards to Pickens, how is Arthur Smith going to rally this offense? How is he going to scheme the offense completely around the fact that Pickens will not be playing? And this time, he has a full week of notice rather than just short notice compared to last week.
Right.
He has a full week to scheme up how to get certain guys involved, how to help Russ out, how to just open up the offense in general, who to spread the ball to, who to get involved more. Hopefully the tight ends, hopefully Mike Williams. We'll see. In regards to Elliott being out, who's going to get the start at strong safety? Is it going to be Casey?
It's going to be Casey. He's the backup to him.
Or is it going to be Eric Rowe, who they signed to the practice squad just a couple weeks ago, and he might be playing some strong safety? Or could we see some Cam Sutton involved in at safety as well? And with Elliott being out, there's not really any true safety that can play in the box for the Steelers outside of Minkah Fitzpatrick. When Edmonds wasn't with us last year, when we were rotating Casey and Neal, and when Minkah played the small amount of games he played last year, he mostly played in the box. A lot more than he did in the slot, a lot more than he did deep safety. He's played a lot more free safety. He's played a lot more deep this season. Now that Elliott has been healthy and he's been, in my opinion, our best safety all season, he's been making plays all year in coverage, against the run. He's been a phenomenal addition. Losing him is massive. So who are we going to have fill in that box safety? It's probably going to be Minkah because we have no one else to do it. The issue with that is now you throw away and you take away your safety blanket. You take away the deep safety, and now the Eagles have all the ability in the world to attack the deep ball. which the Steelers have been very good at limiting all year. Name me the longest passing touchdown they've allowed all year. I can't tell you, but I can for sure tell you it hasn't been that long. That is the impact that Minkah Fitzpatrick has with Elliott involved. Elliott is not in this game. Minkah will probably play in the box. That's going to leave a huge hole in the secondary. Who's going to step up? Who is Arthur Smith? Who is Terrell Austin going to rotate in that safety spot? Is it going to be Rowe? Is it going to be Casey? Is it going to be Sutton? Maybe a configuration of all 2 or 3. Time will tell, but I would imagine Minkah, his name is going to be called mostly to play in that box. Loudermilk, Isaiah Loudermilk, he will probably start in place for Ogunjobi.
You think it's going to be Loudermilk?
Well, who else is it going to be?
I think they're going to look at Dean Lowry.
Dean Lowry, maybe,
They
but
could look toward Dean Lowry again to start.
they could. I mean,
He's that veteran presence there. He's got that experience, being that run stuffer. He's got plenty of starting experience throughout the league when he was a Packer and a Viking. So
right.
I can see them kind of giving Lowry the nod at starting in place for Ogunjobi.
It could be. Otherwise, it was probably going to be Montravius Adams, but he is still on IR. His 21-day window is still open. So unless they activate him before the game, I don't know if Adams will be playing. Probably not, but there's a chance. Otherwise, it'll be Loudermilk and or Lowry starting in. Either they're going to still, play half the snaps. They're going to rotate within game. I would hope the Steelers just play Keanu Benton more. The guy needs 3 down snaps. The guy needs to play as much time on the field as possible and just get him all the reps now. Get him the opportunity, and we're going to need someone to cause some interior pressure, get that pass rush, and have that sense of urgency and that hustle versus that Eagles O-line against a guy like Barkley. I would play Benton a lot more than anyone else, really. I'd give him all the reps possible.
Of course.
So in regards to all that, those are the guys that are going to be called on for the defense. As for Pickens, I would hope that Mike Williams is going to get involved more because he, out of all the receivers last week, saw the least amount of snaps. Now, I have a couple stats here, actually. I have the wide receiver snaps. I forgot to put it on the computer, but I have it on my phone here because this was actually interesting to me regarding the Steelers and Browns game where it was it showed the amount of snaps that the receivers had in line. So Van Jefferson led all Steelers wide receivers with 48 snaps, wide receiver snaps. Second was Scotty Miller with 34, Calvin Austin with 23, Ben Skoranek with 20, and Mike Williams with only 19. But you notice the impact, the plays that Mike Williams made with just those 19 snaps compared to all the other guys. Mike Williams needs to be called on more. Arthur Smith needs to get him more snaps, needs to get him more playing time. Let Russ throw him some moon balls. Let's get him the ball more in any way possible. We're going to need someone to stretch the field. If that means more targets for Calvin Austin, please use his speed. If that means that deep ball ability with Mike Williams, please do so. Not to take anything away from Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller. They definitely made plays last week. I can't take that away from them. But schematically, I would get Mike Williams involved more, get Calvin Austin involved more, and I would 100% get the tight ends involved more. Pat Frymuth, Darnell Washington, use as many weapons as you can. The Steelers have the strength and numbers to play and to step up without Pickens. They showed that last week. It's just a matter of getting certain guys more opportunities. That includes Mike Williams. That includes Darnell Washington. That includes Pat Frymuth.
Mike Williams is essentially a George Pickens type of carbon copy. He's not as athletic or as agile as George Pickens because Pickens is an alien. But no, like you look at Williams' play style and how he is and his size, it's very similar to George Pickens. He's a 50-50 ball. He's a good deep threat. He's a guy that can make those contested catches.
Right.
Mike Williams, in very limited snaps, did more than Van Jefferson did when he had the most snaps out of the wide receivers last week.
Sure.
Again, not trying to take anything away from Jefferson because he's made plays the past 2 weeks. He made the big 40-plus yard gain against the Bengals and then the touchdown against Cleveland. Scotty Miller, he made some very good grabs last week against the Browns.
Sure did.
I can't take anything away from those guys. I'm glad that they stepped up. But when you look at this matchup against Philly and that secondary and that defense led by Vic Fangio, you need to get the best guys available to make the plays possible. With Russell Wilson at quarterback. A guy like Mike Williams in limited snaps doing a lot more than the other receivers are, you got to give the nod to Mike Williams. That's one of the reasons why we brought him in.
Absolutely. That's why we traded a fifth for him. And believe me, that touchdown versus the Commanders has already paid off. But now is the time to get Mike Williams involved more. He needs to see the majority of the wide receiver snaps out of everyone else in this matchup against that secondary, against one of the best defenses in the league statistically. And it's been a big reason why the Eagles have been so good this season. Arthur Smith is going to have one hell of a game to scheme up to see who he gets involved and how he works around the fact that Pickens is out for a second straight week. But this time he has a whole week of notice rather than just a day and a half, 2 days. So we'll see what Arthur Smith does offensively. But I'm hoping that he can really help this offense out, help Russ out as much as possible. And the O-line absolutely needs to continue to step up. The O-line has been very good the last 2 weeks. They've only allowed 3 sacks total the last 2 weeks. Limited pressures, limited penalties. They're allowing Russ to have the time to cook and do what he needs to do. Russ has been very good the last 2 weeks. And this is a tough task for this entire offense. They're already without Pickens. But even with Pickens, they're still struggled with a very tough task against the Eagles defense that is just too stacked. It is very stacked in many areas, from their linebacking core, from their defensive line to their secondary. They got names they can bring in, they can rotate, and they can still play at an incredible level. That Eagles defense is very, very good.
No, it's stacked with talent. And the crazy thing about it is the majority of the players they have on that defense starting are in rookie contracts.
Yes.
It's very young, but very talented. Guys are executing. Again, they're led by Vic Fangio, who's a senior defensive coach throughout the NFL. So having a guy like him to lead these young guys and having these guys make the plays possible, I mean, that's just a hell of a mix. That's a recipe for success for Philly. I got to give them that. They made one hell of an addition getting Vic Fangio to be their DC this year.
I mean, look at this. The Eagles are #1 defense overall. They are 2nd overall against the pass, and they're 4th in points per game allowed.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And that's from a lot of young talent at that. They still have some veterans on that defense still, but the majority of it is just youthful talent.
Yeah, because they lost Brandon Graham, unfortunately, and he might be done with his career, which is sad. But again, that's why they drafted a lot of these guys so high in the draft the past couple of years, and a lot of them coming from Georgia. I mean, you're talking Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean, all came from Georgia.
Kelee Rango, he's a depth guy, but that's just another guy added to that defense. It's just basically the whole Georgia defense from years prior is now Philly. You might as well call them the Philadelphia Bulldogs.
You might as well call this the battle of the Bulldogs, the battle of the. It's the Philadelphia Bulldogs versus the Pittsburgh Bulldogs at this point, because I mean, you're looking at Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, and Nakobe Dean versus Broderick Jones, Darnell Washington. Am I forgetting someone else? I know George Pickens, but he's obviously not playing.
Those are the only two. The only two Georgia Bulldogs that will be healthy for this game.
There's going to be so much Georgia Bulldog representatives in this game. It's crazy, and they're all going to be going up against each other, which is a fun little watch for sure. But, I mean, that goes to show you the level of talent they have. I mean, yeah, they lost Brandon Graham, but, Milton Williams has stepped in very nicely. Jordan Davis is a big, massive dude. Jalen Carter is just so explosive.
Nolan Smith is just a freak athlete, just so quick, fast, and strong. Zach Bond, he's been the free agent pickup for them, and he has just had an explosive year. Like, he just played everywhere.
SR Super Chat at 1411, man. Shout out to you, bro. Let's get that in the chat really quick. Let's see. Where's it at?
Says, I'm feeling a win this week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just, I'm not expecting it. I'm not. But I get this sense that this game has upset written all over it. I don't know why. I'm going into this cautiously optimistic. You never know. Like I said, any given Sunday, and this team has been resilient all season. But this offense, like we said, they're going to have a tough task because all these guys are making plays.
Yeah, not just the front seven, because the front seven is just very stacked, full of talent, but especially that secondary. And they're led by 2 stud rookies. And
I'm so jealous.
And Quinion Mitchell, who is their #1 now, just straight up lockdown this year, and Cooper DeJean, who is their nickel cornerback. Both corners that Mitchell was a first-round pick, but DeJean should have been a first-round pick. He fell to the second.
DeJean should have absolutely been a first-round pick. How he dropped is a
They
damn
got
crime.
2 first-round talent cornerbacks on that defense, and their play is just showcasing on the field. Like, they are legit lockdown guys. I don't think either one of them has an interception on the season yet, but they don't need to get an interception because of how locked down they are.
Dude, Mitchell has 10 passes defended, and Cooper DeJean has 6.
Yeah.
Not to mention, they have C.J. Gardner-Johnson they added in free agency. They brought him back. He has 9 passes defended this year. Darius Slay is a long-term veteran that, is just perfect for those two guys to learn from. Reed Blankenship has been very underrated since being built up and being a homegrown guy for Philly.
Yep.
This just goes to show you just how deep that defense is. Not to mention the depth that they have at linebacker, at corner, everywhere, man. This is a tough task for the Steelers offense. So when I look at the Steelers offense versus the Philadelphia defense, it's more so favored to the Philadelphia defense because, well, one, Pickens isn't playing, but you just look at the level of talent. You look at what they've done all season. The Steelers offense has been infinitely better than the past number of years, and a lot of that has to do with Russ. But, we're also looking at Russ without his top target. And you're looking at an O-line that has done good the past 2 weeks, but now they're going to have one of the more important tests of the entire season. The offense has been very good in several games this year, but they've been shaky at the same time.
Of course. Especially early on in the game with their slow starts and just not able to really strike immediately.
Well, you can also say the same thing for Philly. The only thing is Philly can really strike later in the game.
But so have the Steelers. The Steelers have basically been the second half team that they are.
Right, absolutely. Because when you look at the Eagles' offense, clearly, first guy you think of is Saquon Barkley.
That's basically the Eagles' offense is Saquon Barkley. I'm just going to flat out say it. Barkley is that offense.
They are the number one rushing offense because Saquon Barkley has 1,623 rushing yards.
That's a new career high. He already topped his career high against the Rams on Sunday night when he went off.
He topped his career high. He topped the Eagles single season high. He beat Shady's record. Shout out to Shady McCoy. He is first in the league in rushing yards by over 200 next to Derrick Henry. And he has 11 touchdowns on the year. And you know what's insane? Jalen Hurts has 13 rushing touchdowns. All because Saquon Barkley is the most tackled player at the 1 yard line this season. Imagine if he didn't get tackled at the 1, or imagine if they gave him the handoff every time at the 1. Imagine every single time he got stopped at the 1 and the Eagles gave him the ball. How many more touchdowns would he have? Probably over 20.
He'd have 24. You take Jalen Hurts' 13 rushing touchdowns, you give it to Barkley, he's got 24. Just do the math.
Well, at least you take half of that away. Barkley is just running away with, in my opinion, MVP. There's not been any quarterback performance that is mind-blowing or blowing you away. Lamar, maybe, but
Burrow is arguable, but
look at their record.
Yeah, exactly. The record shows. But speaking of the record, just look at the Eagles' record, considering that they are 11-2. They clinched a playoff spot already. They've gone on 9 straight games with a win. A big part of that is because of Barkley. Barkley is the impact on that offense.
It's because of Barkley, not Hurts.
No.
If there is a quarterback that could win MVP, my vote would be Josh Allen. Look at what he's doing with the Bills. And, they have a great chance of being the number 2 or 1 seed. We'll discuss that later. But, with Josh Allen, not to take anything away from Josh Allen, but you kind of expect that from Josh Allen, right? It's not, mind-blowing. It's not, out of this world. It's like, Josh Allen, he's an elite quarterback. Look what he's doing, right? And by the way, he's doing this with legitimately no number 1 receiver. He lost Diggs. He lost Gabe Davis. He's having an incredible season. He's putting that entire Bills team on his back.
Yeah.
Can't take anything away from Josh Allen. But Barkley, what he's doing, you don't see this from running backs nowadays. In a passing league, you don't see this shit. This is generational running back stuff that we used to see in the 90s and the 2000s.
This is back from the Sean Alexander days and whatnot.
This is AP all over again.
LaDainian Tomlinson days.
You don't see this from Barkley,
no.
Especially when you look at what Hurts has done this year. Hurts hasn't had a great year. The best he's done all year
Hurts has 29 total touchdowns, I believe. Yeah, 29. 16 passing, 13 rushing.
Yeah.
You look at that, you're thinking, oh, man, Hurts is having a very good year. You're looking on paper, you're thinking that. No. Jalen Hurts, as a passer, as a quarterback, is very inconsistent this year.
Yeah, I don't particularly think he's having a great season. I think he's stealing a lot of Barkley's touchdowns, which, that's how the Eagles have won games. You can't take that away from the team. They're playing very smart and intelligent football. They're playing to win. But in regards to Hurts, a lot of the weight has been taken off his shoulders, and that's why they went and grabbed Barkley.
Yeah.
That's why the Ravens went and grabbed Henry. They're playing similar rules for different teams, right? And you see the effect it's having on Lamar and Hurts. But with Hurts, you look at the Eagles in their offense. They're number 1 ranked in rushing, but they are the second worst passing offense in the league.
31st.
Now, at the same time, I think stats kind of tell a lot of lies because you also look at the fact that, one, their rushing offense is so damn good, they don't have to pass it all the time. And A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith have both only played 10 of the 13 games that the Eagles have played. That's it. Brown missed 3 games early on, and Devonta Smith has missed 3 games himself. And in those 10 games, Devonta Smith has still had 553 yards and 5 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, in 10 games, has 836 yards and 4 touchdowns. Imagine if he didn't miss any action. In fact, there's only 2 games out of his 2 games this year that he has had less than 60 yards. 4 of those games being over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah.
So imagine what those guys could have done, where those guys could be if they didn't miss any action. So yeah, statistically, the Eagles are second worst passing offense, but I think there's a lot of unhidden messages in that stat. I think there's a lot of reason why that's the case. It's because their receivers were missing a lot of games, one of them being their last loss of the season versus the Bucs. And frankly, they don't have to rely on the pass as much. They're so successful on the ground. They can score so much on the ground. They don't have to throw it as much, which is why the Eagles are so damaging, which is why the Eagles are so efficient, which is why they're 11-2. But Hurts overall, when the pressure's been put on him, when he's been had to be leaned on, I don't think he can step up to the plate as much as he used to.
No, and A.J. Brown's, he was vocal about it after the Panthers game because someone asked him, like, what's the one key part that, you guys could get better at? He immediately just said passing.
100%.
Passing. They're, like since A.J. Brown has been a Eagle, like, we all know the talent that he had when he was a Titan. But when he became the Eagle, that talent was just unleashed. Like, Hurts and Brown, they just clicked immediately. Like that duo has been one of the more unstoppable duos over the course of the past 2 years.
And it still is.
But I would argue that it is not as consistent as the previous 2 years. I think a part of that is because of Hurts and his inconsistency as a passer.
Not just that, but I do also think that's a lot to do with the fact that they have had a revolving door of OCs the last 3-4 years.
Yes, the problem with the Eagles, and I think since Nick Sirianni's been their head coach, is like every year has been a new offensive coordinator.
He changes his mind on OCs every single year.
Like last year was Brian Johnson. Now they have Kellen Moore.
Isn't it Kellen Moore?
Kellen Moore, yeah. He was the Chargers OC last year, and then, like he was relieved of his duties from Los Angeles. Now he's there in Philly.
Right.
So it's just a constant revolving door of OCs, and I mean it's been successful for them, I would say. But a lot of that falls on the success of Saquon Barkley. You take Barkley away from Philly, like if they were to still have kept DeAndre Swift, the Swift didn't go to the Bears.
Oh yeah,
they still be a fine offense. They still get something going, but would it be this dominant? Absolutely not.
I think that's why the Eagles kind of had the season they had last year, which wasn't as good as this year.
No, if you remember last year, especially later in the season, they had a full team collapse, a full season collapse.
Absolutely.
They had double-digit wins, yeah, but then they just lost the rest of their games, and they weren't even competitive in the wild card game.
That's how good Barkley is, and that's exactly why he should win MVP. Not Josh Allen, not Lamar, not any other quarterback. It should be Saquon. If Saquon doesn't win it, he is robbed. Robbed just like TJ was last year.
Of course. That's because it's a heavily quarterback-driven league. That's just the way it is.
I know. And I'm expecting
that's just the way that football is in general when it comes to not just NFL but college.
Sure.
They just constantly look at the quarterback position as the main position, which of course you would look.
Well, you get why, but I mean
yeah, but I mean like specifically look at this Eagles team. I cannot stress this enough.
Dude, it's insane.
You take Barkley away from that team, Hurts is not leading that team down to a win.
He's not.
He doesn't have that. He doesn't have
that clutch gene in him. He doesn't.
Yes.
Barkley has a chance to hit 2,000 yards. That's insane. If he's not at 2,000 scrimmage yards, he's going to be. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He should have 20-plus touchdowns. It's unbelievable what Barkley does. But that goes to show you, yes, the one guy the Steelers have to stop, and it's as, it's not as easy as it sounds, clearly, man. It's the most obvious thing in the world. But the Steelers have to try to find a way to slow down Saquon and force the game into Jalen Hurts' hands. That is how you beat the Philadelphia Eagles. The problem is no one has been able to do it yet. Can the Steelers? I don't know. Do they have the defensive guys to do it? Do they have the playmakers to do it? I think so. I think our linebacking core is so stacked, I think we can do it. I think our defensive line is strong enough, we can do it. But the problem is we are without our best box safety. We are without a run stuffer in Ogunjobi. How much of that is going to affect us trying to slow down Barkley?
Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's going to affect us heavily.
I think so too.
Elliott was brought in not only to fill the strong safety position and the box role, but to stop the run, because the best thing about DeShon Elliott is his run stuffing capabilities.
Yeah.
He is probably the best run stopping safety in the entire NFL. I would make that argument.
Yeah, it's very arguable.
Anytime the running back's given the ball, DeShon Elliott is pretty much one of the guys right there to make the stop.
Right.
He's just so quick. The guy is just a stud at stopping the run. Not having him in this game is, I fear it's really going to hurt.
It is. And like I said earlier, I would imagine Minkah is going to be getting his name called to do those duties. But again.
But then now you risk the issue of A.J. Brown and Hurts potentially clicking in this game, because remember last time A.J. Brown faced the Steelers in an Eagles uniform?
I'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards.
Well, don't forget what Devonta Smith did as well.
Yeah. Like the thing about that is, yeah, I get the argument, and they could lean on Minkah to do that because, yeah, he can do it.
He's the only guy that can right now.
But do you really
then you take away
open the void of the deep ball?
Well, it's up to coaching to see who they put back there to cover that safety blanket.
But then the problem is, like, if you're looking at DeMonte Casey, the guy is just an inconsistent tackler.
Agreed.
The guy can hit, but he's, as far as tackling goes, he's not consistent. Cam Sutton, they could look at him potentially taking safety reps.
Well, he's played safety reps since training camp, so they'll look at him for sure. Can he play that deep range? Can he play that deep safety? I don't know. Eric Rowe, maybe, because he has that experience, perhaps. But, I mean, we're really kind of living on a prayer with that, aren't we? So it's a little tough. But, you know, you take away Minkah and what he does back there and put him down low in the box, that gives the Eagles every indication, hey, let's throw it deep. And Brown is a deep threat. Brown can make plays all over the field. And Devonta Smith is one of Hurts' favorite deep targets. They have connected so often all season when Devonta plays. You know, it's one of those things where that could come into effect.
Yeah.
That's how important Elliott's presence is it allows Minkah to do what he needs to do back there while Elliott does everything down here. And now you put Minkah down here and take him away from back there, that leaves another open hole for the secondary. And the secondary has already been kind of sus the past couple weeks, allowing all the yardage and all the catches and all the crazy gains.
Yeah, the chunk plays happening in the secondary, yeah.
Especially JPJ getting cooked the past couple weeks. Him and his penalties and him and his lackluster coverage going up against A.J. Brown, one of the best receivers in the entire NFL. Dante Jackson has kind of slimmed off a little bit. He's going up against Devonta Smith. That'll be a speed matchup right there. So that should be a fun, nice watch. Hopefully Dante can have himself a solid game for sure.
Yeah.
But the one thing that has been consistent with this defense, and they're one of the top in the league at, is they can force turnovers. It doesn't matter how many points they allow. It doesn't matter how many yards they allow. They force the turnovers.
Yeah. They're going on 4 straight games with 3 turnovers. And that was against all AFC North matchups.
Now they're going on the road, out of conference. It's going to be tough because the Eagles, they don't turn the ball over often. They don't.
No.
The way to do that, the way to force that, is to put the ball in Hurts' hands. And listen, it's not easy to do, clearly. But there's one way the Steelers can do it. It's possible. There's one way the Steelers can do it. Well, the one way they can do it is slow down Barkley and eliminate him completely. And that's impossible. You're not going to do that.
And listen, with the absence of Elliott in this game, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers were to look more at playing Elandon Roberts. He's our best run-stopping inside linebacker. He's the guy that can just clog the holes.
He can see a ton of reps.
The guy can do it. Like, there's been times where, like, you see noticeably in the secondary that Cam Sutton would out-snap Beanie Bishop, but that's specifically because of the scheme that they chose and the playbook that they chose for that specific game. For this matchup right here, since they're going to be without Elliott, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to have Roberts play a lot more snaps than usual just in order to try to contain Barkley. Honestly, I'd say that it's a necessity. because Roberts is more than capable of stopping the run, and he's just been a dog ever since he's been a Steeler. Like, the guy just made plays left and right in numerous amount of games.
He's been,
especially in the run.
He's been like a Vince Williams 2.0. He's been a phenomenal guy against the run, tackles for loss against in the blitz packages. But he's also real good at signaling out things to the defense.
And I don't want snaps to be taken away from a guy like Peyton Wilson, who's been a very good rookie this year, and of course Patrick Queen. But if it were to come to potentially allowing Roberts to do what he needs to do and slow down Barkley and stop Barkley to make sure that Barkley doesn't go anywhere, I'm all for it.
Well, you
got to get these guys in the best circumstances in order to help your team win. That's just what it matters at the end of the day.
You also need that speed and range from Wilson.
Oh, yeah, of course you do.
It'll be interesting to see how Terrell Austin schemes up against Barkley, but I don't think this defense can completely shut down and slow down Barkley. I don't think any defense is capable of doing that. The way Barkley's playing right now, he's a man possessed. Like, we don't see running back seasons like this anymore. This is like history making at this point, right? This is like going back in the time machine 20 years ago. That's how effective Barkley is. So I don't think the defense can slow down and eliminate Barkley and force the game into Hurts' hands. I think the only way that's capable is if the offense gets points on the board very early, because the Eagles sure as fuck cannot. The Eagles are actually one of the worst teams when it comes to scoring in the first quarter. In fact, their first 7 games this year, they did not score one single point. Not one. And to continue on, they have only scored 17 total points in the first quarter all season. That is the worst in the NFL.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
They have only scored...
For being the number one offense, too?
Yeah.
Or not number one offense. They're one of the top offenses for sure.
Well, they've only scored, whether that's a field goal or a touchdown, they've only scored in the first quarter 3 times this year. Like I said, a combined total of 17 points. That's it. The Eagles start slow. Now, do they pick up later in the game? Clearly. Look at their points per game. Look at their, stats. Look at their victories. So they wake up later on. But I think the Steelers need to take advantage of the fact that the Eagles start slow. They need to take advantage of the fact that the Eagles don't put points on the board pretty early. And they need to put points on the board early. I think that's how we win this game. The offense needs to put points on the board. They need to make the Eagles come back. They need to make the Eagles be trailing. They need to force the game into Hurts' hands. The way you do that is to make them play from behind. The offense, the Steelers' offense is going to have to come up big because they're going to have to start fast. They're going to have to play 60 minutes, very much like they did versus the Bengals. They're going to have to put points on the board consistently and repetitively. Again, a lot easier said than done.
A lot easier said and done.
But I think it's easy. I think that's easier than trying to slow down Barkley at this point.
That is arguable, but you're going to be without George Pickens doing that.
True.
You're going to be without Pickens, and you're going to be against the number one defense, and you're going to be on the road.
Sure, but look what Russ did with his targets last week. Now, I know it was against the Browns defense, whatever.
Sure.
But look at what Russ, and this is the difference between Russ and all the other quarterbacks that we have seen a number of years from, Kenny, Mitch, even Fields. I love Fields, but it's a clear difference. Russ feeds his targets. No matter who Russ has to throw the ball to, he gives them the opportunity. He puts the ball in stride. He puts the ball in positions where the receiver can make the play. It's up to the receiver to make the plays, to execute. Russ feeds his targets no matter who is getting the targets.
So that's going to be one of the key things about this offense here is not only, potentially having to score early, but execution. That's what's going to have to be key, especially with the guys who are going to have to step up a wide receiver, protecting the football. They have to protect the football. They can't afford to turn over the ball and give Philly and Barkley any chance of taking advantage of that.
No.
They cannot afford that. Not on the road, not in Philly. And time of possession.
Absolutely.
They have to find a way to limit that offense. They have to find a way to limit Barkley. They have to find a way to keep that man off the field.
And you can run the ball. Najee and Warren are very healthy. I think you can run the ball with those two. I think you can run the ball against that defense. Now, not taking anything away because, again, they got some bulldozers. They got some giant human beings. They got some the gap fillers. They got some interior pressure. Zach Bond has been arguably one of the best free agent signings from the entire offseason. When you look back at everything, he's been an incredible piece. Nakobe Dean has always been a stud. So it's going to be a little harder to do so, but I think the Steelers can still find success on the ground this week. So I agree. Time of possession, execution, and getting points on the board early is how the Steelers have a chance at winning this game. And that's how you make the Eagles come back from behind. That's how you force the ball into Hurts' hands. A lot easier said than done, but again, I would argue that's easier than slowing down Barkley.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's going to be very difficult because you're not going to have Pickens. You're going up against the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because the Eagles, they only average about 18 points per game. That's very low. So I don't expect this game to be very high scoring. It's definitely not going to be a shootout. It's not going to be like the Steelers and Bengals matchup. Nowhere near.
I sure hope it's also not a blowout.
I hope not either, because the last 2 times the Steelers played the Eagles in Philly, not a good mix.
No.
The Steelers have gotten blown out twice the last 2 times against the Eagles in Philly.
Yes.
That's when they had different starting quarterbacks, though, because a fun fact about Russell Wilson against the Eagles is that he, believe it or not, is undefeated.
5-0. 5-0 versus the Eagles. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
And he's
man.
undefeated in Philly at that, too.
With Russ, here's the impact that Russ has, man. With Russ, I feel like we have a chance with Russ.
We always have a chance with Russ. He's indicated that all season.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Like, Russ can unleash something for this offense. He's done it multiple times. He has shown that. And ever since stepping in on that Sunday night game versus the Jets, he has just brought something different to not only this offense, but the entire team. Everyone rallies behind him. Everyone, like, this entire team has rallied from deficits or has rallied from behind several times. And I think a lot of it has to do with the influence and the leadership of Russ. And even last week when we didn't have Pickens, Russ led this offense to a successful formula where we were able to get points on the board, where we were able to get in the end zone without Pickens. It's going to be a lot tougher task this week, not only being on the road, but against a powerful defense. But with Russ as a leader and what he's been capable of and how successful he's been in his career, there's that slimmer of chance that he can keep this within range, that he can keep this game close, and perhaps maybe by some string of luck or some string of something, maybe the Steelers come out of Philly with a victory. I feel like with Russ, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
Compared to the previous quarterbacks we've had, where obviously, I mean, it was doomsday from the start. We were down by a deficit and there was no chance. With Russ, I think there's a chance.
Yeah. And, despite the rankings that they have on the offense and defense, the talent that they have, the Eagles are still a vulnerable football team. That has been indicated by the Eagles several times this season.
The Eagles,
in their most recent matchups, actually.
Eagles are beatable. Eagles are very beatable. Are they daunting? Are they elite? Are they dominating in some senses? Yes, they've shown that.
When Barkley's on, he's on. So it's like, once he's on, it's kind of hard to slow him down.
He hasn't had anything less of 100 since week 10. And they still won 34-6 versus Dallas.
Yeah.
But I think the Eagles are beatable. I think they are. But I think ways to do that is you got to beat them in the points before they beat you. You got to score before they do. You got to keep the points coming. You got to keep the touchdowns flowing before they get a chance to get touchdowns. You just got to be a lot faster. You got to be a lot more efficient than Philly. Can the Steelers do that? I think the offense has shown cases. I think they've shown flashes of doing it. But, yes, they do have their toughest task. They're going up against their best defense they have all year, and they're without their best field stretcher. They're without their best receiver. Their only legitimate receiver, actually. But, maybe that's why I get a sense that this has upset written all over it, because maybe all that in front of us, we're without Pickens, we're without Elliott, we're without Ogunjobi. We are the underdogs again. We are in Philly, a place the Steelers haven't won in almost 60 years. Maybe all that wrapped in a Christmas bow is exactly why I'm picturing upset written all over it. I'm not expecting a victory because actually, and the pick'ems we do every week, for the first time this season, I picked against the Steelers. I picked the Steelers every single week in our pick'ems. This week was the first time I picked against the Steelers. I don't think we're going to get a victory here. I think we're going to lose. I said it from when the schedule first came out. I think we lose against Philly. But where we stand now, there's a little glimmer of hope. If I were to sit here and tell you that I don't think there's a little chance of a victory, I'd be lying to you. I'm a little hopeful. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not expecting it. But maybe there's a chance. Any given Sunday.
Oh, there's definitely a chance.
And the Panthers, man, with Bryce Young, they have taken the Chiefs, they have taken the Eagles to the limit. Eagles should have lost last week if Xavier Legette could catch.
Yeah. All it took was Xavier Legette to drop the pass for Philly to win.
That goes to show you, the Panthers, man, have shown you that any given Sunday, two juggernauts in both conferences, they were both challenged by the Panthers. And the Panthers, they left Mahomes too much time, and it was a drop pass away from beating both of those teams. Any given Sunday. So, yes, there's a chance. And it all really depends not only how Russ leads this team, but how Tomlin rallies this team. Now, I haven't watched any episode of Hard Knocks yet. I have not. But all I hear, the biggest takeaway from Hard Knocks, is how good of a coach Mike Tomlin is, or how people want to play for Tomlin, or why people understand why players want to play for Tomlin, how he rallies the team. And that's obviously no secret, but it's really more evident now. And I think that's a big reason why this Steelers team has a lot of success this year is, the OC change, the quarterback change. That has a lot to do with it. But the way Tomlin has approached everything, he's been more so in attack mode. He's just going in with a different mindset, a different feeling, which is a great thing. Maybe he rallies his team in a similar mindset, in a similar game plan, where maybe they go in and they pull off the upset. But at the same time, if they lose this game, I don't know how if they lose this game, I don't know how. Could it be a blowout? Maybe. But could it be close? I would hope so.
I don't expect a blowout. I don't.
I hope not.
Philly, what's their only blowout win they had? Against Dallas?
Against Dallas and against the Giants.
I mean, like for God's sake, who the hell hasn't done that?
Well, we didn't beat Dallas.
Oh, shut up. Shut up. My point is the Steelers, they've lost 3 games, and they were all within a range of at least a field goal or a touchdown. The Steelers this year have never gotten blown out.
Yeah, their biggest loss, point margin-wise, was 5 points.
They have never gotten blown out this season. How many times did they get blown out last year?
Or the year before that, or the year before
I lost count.
How many blowouts did we see the last 2-3 years prior to the season?
Too many.
Too fucking many.
Too many for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We had like 3 or 4 last year alone. Not one this season.
Not one. So I don't see this game being a blowout. If the Steelers lose, it's going to be in a competitive fashion.
I would hope so. That's what I want to see from this team. If they don't win, I want to at least see them compete. I want them to show just a little sign of legitimacy. I know this game doesn't mean a lot in the grand scheme of everything because it's out of conference. It doesn't play a big factor into seeding or anything right now. But a win does clinch a playoff victory or a playoff spot, so that's crucial. And I do want to be able. I do want the Steelers to be able to show that they are legit. They are for real. That they are here to make a statement. That they are here to compete. Versus the Eagles, I think that would be a statement.
It would be because when you look at the Eagles record-wise and just how they are, they're one of the juggernauts of the NFC. They're one of the top favorites to potentially make the Super Bowl with the NFC conference. If the Steelers can manage to not only go into their territory, but knock them down in there and knock down the NFC juggernaut, arguably, then that makes the Steelers all that more very legitimate.
Right.
It showcases that, hey, the Pittsburgh Steelers are back. We are a legitimate team. We just knocked this team off.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm not expecting a victory, but what I do want to see is that. I want to see that competitive nature again, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe we lost, but damn it, this team is competitive. They can compete with any team, even one of the best in the NFC. You got to take what you can get sometimes.
Yeah.
And typically in games like this, where the Steelers go up against one of the better teams in the entire league, you expect, or previous years, you would expect a blowout loss. And that's what we would get, versus the Niners, versus the Texans, just last year alone. This year, it's just different to me. So I think this team can rally themselves and go into Philly in an impossible task in a lot of ways and still go in with a potential ending of a victory. Maybe. A win would be great. I think a win would be a statement victory. 100% a statement victory.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be incredible, actually. But if we lose, it would suck. Yeah, that's another loss on the season. But at the same time, would a loss to the Eagles really be that damaging? I don't think so. Not right now. The games that matter the most are obviously the games after this, which is the AFC conference games, which is the rest of the divisional games, which is the Christmas game versus the Chiefs. And after this Eagles game, we got the Ravens, which is probably going to be battle for first place depending on what happens. Because I think, don't the Ravens face the Giants?
Yeah, that's an automatic win.
That's a win. That's the lock of the week. And then they got the Steelers next week. That could be that game is going to be incredibly important. And so is the Chiefs game.
And both those games are going to be on short weeks. This Eagles game right here is the start of a 10-day stretch where the Steelers play in 3 games.
Yeah.
3 games in 10 days. And this is the start of it. It starts with Philly.
And you know what sucks? And maybe at the same time, it's a blessing. It sucks because, this is the start of 3 games in 10 days. And we are going to be without Pickens, Elliott, and Ogunjobi to start. But if there was a game for them to miss, if there was a game for them to be out, it is this one because it's out of conference. And you get those injuries out the way. That way they're as healthy as they can be. They are going to be stronger. They're going to be as healthy as ever for the Ravens game, which is going to be the most important game of the season come next week. Because that will definitely determine who wins the AFC. Because the Ravens are going to win. That's no question. The Giants are pulling off no upset. The Ravens are winning. The Steelers maybe have a chance versus the Eagles. But if the Steelers lose, then next week, the Ravens could beat the Steelers and have a chance to clinch the division. Well, maybe not clinch next week, but have a chance to still be there because they're still 2 games behind. But if the Steelers, if they beat the Ravens next week, they essentially clinch. They essentially win the AFC North, right? So that's why in this stretch, it's very important, and it just starts now. And that's why if there was a game for Pickens and them to miss, it's this one. Because they're going to be back. Fingers crossed they're going to be back versus the Ravens.
Yeah.
Especially a guy like Pickens.
But if the Steelers knock off the Eagles, wouldn't that give them the advantage over the Ravens, considering that the Eagles beat the Ravens? At least for division standings?
It would if the Eagles were a conference team.
Okay.
It would if they were a conference team. They're non-conference, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
Yes. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme because...
Well, still.
I mean, we would have that over the Ravens, sure. I mean, that's bragging rights. But in terms of clinching or conference records, it doesn't matter. No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
But a win versus the Eagles would still be good. And I think that's extra confidence going into a very important game versus the Ravens after this one. But first, we got to get to the Eagles. But, you also look at this game. You look at the remaining schedule. This is the final stretch of the regular season. The Steelers, man, they actually have a realistic possibility of clinching the number 2 seed. Maybe number 1, and we'll get into those scenarios soon. But the Steelers, here's the thing. If the Steelers somehow keep finding ways to win, if they just keep winning, if they beat the Eagles, then they beat the Ravens, and they go into Christmas versus the Chiefs, there is a chance that they could walk away as the number 2, maybe number 1 seed. But they have to keep winning. They have to. A loss to the Eagles this week wouldn't be incredibly detrimental to those odds, but a win would definitely be beneficial in a sense. Because I think they would need, that extra win on their record. They would need that confidence, that momentum to them. All that plays a massive effect later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than a loss, and maybe that leads to a downward spiral. So people look at this game and don't think it's that important or it's that crucial. To me, I still want to win. I want to beat the Eagles.
Well, that's the goal at the end of the game, at the end of the day.
I want to get into the playoffs. I want to make a statement victory to the entire league that, hey, the Pittsburgh Steelers, we may have gone through some rough quarterback years, but now we got Russ. We're here to make a statement. So if the Steelers keep winning and they go up against the Ravens and they beat them and clinch the AFC North, then their next goal is, hey, let's get a higher seeding so we can enforce home field advantage through January. That's why I think this game is in a sense important, because they just need to keep winning. They're on a 2-game win streak, and they need to find ways to just keep winning football.
Yeah.
By any means necessary. Handle business is what Mike Tomlin says. But yes, guys, I don't want to jump ahead, but there is a chance that the Steelers could clinch the number 2 or number 1 seed. because I did some research last night. And first of all, it's going to come down to the Bills and the Steelers, mainly for the number 2 seed. Because when you look at the Steelers and the Bills, they have identical schedules. They have the same record at 10-3. They have the same conference record at 7-2. They have identical schedules because they both face out-of-conference teams this week. Bills got the Lions. Steelers got the Eagles. The Bills finished the season with 3 straight games versus AFC East teams, right? They got the Patriots and the Jets. They got the Patriots and they got the Jets twice.
Yeah.
The Steelers have the Ravens, then the Chiefs, then the Bengals. They have identical schedules. After this game, which, again, doesn't play much of effect conference-wise, but after this game, the rest of the season, the rest of the 3 games is incredibly crucial to clinching or seeding or any of that. Because there's a chance, again, the Steelers could get the number 2, number 1. We'll start with the 2 first. The Bills and the Steelers are going to be the heavy favorites because I don't think the Texans are going to be able to catch up. They're 8-5.
Right.
And it's essentially going to be between the Steelers and Bills who get number 2 before they even get to number 1. The only chance they get to number 1 is if the Chiefs obviously start losing.
Which that's not going to happen.
How likely is that?
Probably not happen.
Probably not, but there's a scenario how, and I'll get to that shortly. But I want to get to the Bills and the Steelers in regards to the number 2 seeding. So again, they sit at same schedules, same record, 10-3, 7-2 versus the conference. If the Steelers beat the Ravens, I believe they would clinch the division next week. Correct me if I'm wrong. They would have that confirmed for sure. And you look at the Bills and you look at the Steelers, you look at their schedule. They have 4 common games. They have 4 of the same AFC teams that they went up against. That is the Ravens, the Jets, the Colts, and the Chiefs. Those are the 4 common games that the Steelers and the Bills have. Hilariously, they all cancel each other out. The Steelers beat the Ravens. The Bills did not. So the Steelers have that over the Bills. But the Bills beat the Colts.
Steelers did not.
So that kind of evens that out. Both teams beat the Jets, obviously. The Bills beat the Chiefs. The Steelers to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is the Ravens game going to be important because that could clinch the AFC North, but that Chiefs game is going to be important because that could be everything that the Steelers need to potentially get the number 2 seed. So, for example, let's say the Steelers find ways to keep winning, whether they lose versus the Eagles or not, right? And maybe the Bills lose to the Lions as well. Lions are the favorites. How can you bet against the Lions right now? Let's say both of those teams lose this week out of conference. It doesn't matter because conference records remain the same. Then they have similar schedules. They got 3 straight AFC conference games, right? If the Steelers keep winning and they beat the Ravens and they beat the Chiefs, they would need the Bills to lose, I believe, at least 1 or 2 of their remaining 3 games versus the AFC East. So they would need to lose either the Jets or the Patriots. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Bills currently have the tiebreaker. So currently they cancel each other out with the common games because Steelers beat the Ravens, Bills didn't. Bills beat the Colts, Steelers didn't. They both beat the Jets, and they both maybe will beat the Chiefs. But I believe the Bills will have the tiebreaker because they have a better conference record. The Bills are undefeated in the Bills have the better divisional record. The Bills are undefeated in the division. The Steelers lost to the Browns once. So I believe technically the Bills have the tiebreaker. The Steelers would need the Bills to start losing in the division to potentially get the number 2 seed.
Yeah, but you're asking for them to lose to Patriots and the Jets?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I don't see that happening.
Now, if the Steelers somehow just, clinch the AFC North and they sit at the number 3 seed, that's fine. That's fine. Because they at least guarantee, 1 or 2 games of home field advantage through the playoffs, depending if they win a playoff game or not. Fingers crossed. But you look a little deeper. You look just a little bit deeper, there's a chance that the Bills and the Steelers could battle for the number 1 seed, but the Chiefs would need to start losing. The Chiefs aren't losing to the Browns this week. They're not.
No.
In fact, the last remaining games that the Chiefs have is the Browns this week. They're not losing. They have the Texans, they have the Steelers, and they have the Broncos. The last 4 games. They're not losing to the Browns. The Texans, maybe.
That's a big if. That's a big if.
And here's the thing. The Texans can actually clinch the AFC South in the number 4 seed with a victory versus the Dolphins and a Colts loss to the Broncos. If that happens, the Texans clinch the AFC South in the number 4 seed. If that goes ass backwards for the Texans, they have everything to fight for versus the Chiefs after this week, in week 16. The Texans could pull off the upset, maybe, because they would have everything to fight for at that point. Then the Chiefs go into the Steelers game in Heinz Field on Christmas. Maybe the Steelers somehow beat the Chiefs. That would mean 2 straight losses for the Chiefs, and that would make their conference record, I believe, because they're currently 7-1 in the conference. So they beat the Browns, that's 8-1. They lose to the Texans, that's 8-2. They they lose to the Steelers, that's 8-3. The Bills and the Steelers would technically have better conference records, and they would both beat the Chiefs, so that would knock the Chiefs down from the number 1 down to the number 3, and then the number 1 and 2 is between the Steelers and the Bills. It all depends if the Bills lose to the division or any of the divisional rivals. But for all that to happen, the Chiefs would have to start losing, and the Bills and the Steelers would have to start winning, or they would have to keep winning. But most importantly, for the Steelers, the Chiefs have to lose, the Steelers got to keep winning, and the Bills got to lose at least 1 or 2 of their remaining divisional matchups. It's a lot to ask for.
That's a whole hell of a lot to ask for.
But is it possible?
In the NFL, any given Sunday, anything is absolutely possible.
Is it possible?
If they won higher seedings, if that's what they're fighting for, if that's what they're looking for, yes, it's highly possible. Again, this is the NFL we're talking about. Major upsets have happened. There's going to be many teams, looking to play spoiler in the later part of the season.
Absolutely.
Especially with the playoff picture coming, So there's going to be some teams that are going to be looking to clinch a playoff spot and just tarnish on their other teams, on their opponents.
Absolutely.
Am I expecting all of that?
No. I just threw that out there. Those are the notes I took after some deep research last night. That is how the Steelers and Bills will compete for the number 2 seed and potentially even the number 1. As we stand now, this could change all come Sunday, clearly. But as we stand now, heading into week 15 versus the Eagles, this is where the number 1 and the number 2, potentially number 3 seedings are sitting right now. So Steelers and Bills can compete for the number 2 seed, or they will compete for the number 2 seed. But as long as the Chiefs start losing and those 2 teams, being the Bills and the Steelers, keep winning, that could knock the Chiefs out of the number 1, and then it will be between the Steelers and Bills to compete for the number 1. I believe the Bills have the tiebreaker over the Steelers because they have a better divisional record. So the Steelers would not only have to keep winning, they would need the Bills to start losing within the division after this week versus the Lions. A lot to ask for, but it's possible.
It is.
But at the same time, I throw that out there to keep in the back of your mind. I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. I'm going to keep a close eye on all that. I'm going to keep a close eye on all that, on the conference, on the divisional games, on their records, on their schedules, on whatever happens in the next coming weeks. I'm also going to look closely at the Texans and what they might do this week versus the Dolphins. I'm going to look closely at the Colts versus the Broncos because that could have an effect on what the Texans could do versus the Chiefs in week 16. I'm going to take a look at all that. I'm going to keep that in the back of my head. I'm going to keep that, I'm going to put that in the air. I'm going to, want you guys to just keep that as a deep thought. But as we stand now, I'm just focused on the Eagles, and then I'm focused on the Ravens and clinching a playoff spot and clearly clinching the AFC North to ensure home field advantage.
Yeah.
So that's the first goal. But behind all that, surrounding all that, that is where the Steelers could maybe get the 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah.
As we stand now, they will most likely get the number 3 seed if they keep winning. But there's a chance they could get higher. And any higher seeding is better seeding, clearly. Because that enforces home field advantage throughout all of the playoffs. Just throwing it out there. So the road to the number 2 or number 1 seed, or probably just the number 3 seed for the Steelers, starts now. And it's going to be an intense, very close race for the next month. And it doesn't really start now because the Bills and the Steelers have their last out-of-conference games. But keep that in mind for next week because then that race really starts come next week. And maybe that could pick up a little bit this week if the Browns somehow hilariously beat the Chiefs, which is not happening again.
No.
But maybe. Because that would just...
Maybe.
I'm just saying. Let's say the Browns somehow beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs would have the exact same conference record as the Steelers and the Bills. They would be right next. They would have tied conference records at 7-2.
Jameis Winston being Kansas City.
It's not happening. I'm just saying. Maybe if that's the case, the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Bills all have the same conference record at 7-2.
I hear you.
But I'm not expecting it.
No, neither am I.
So
honestly, all those circumstances that you mentioned, I'm glad that you brought it up. It's a good thing to keep in the back of your mind. For me, I'm just going to let it play out.
Oh, clearly.
I'm going to let it play out, and what I'm mainly focused on is our opponents.
I just want to put that out in the atmosphere, and I want to keep a close look at that because it doesn't exactly start this week, although it could if the Browns pull off the upset. Not happening. But it really does start next week because that's when the rest of the conference games really kick off, and that's when everything is just full steam ahead. But what's most important right now is the Steelers just keep winning, and whatever happens between the Bills and the Chiefs and whatever, this is what's going to happen. Just keep a close eye on the rest of their games and the rest of their schedule and the results of that, and as long as the Steelers keep winning, everything could fall into their favor. So if the Bills lose at least one or two of their divisional games, the Steelers could sneak up to the number 2. If the Chiefs start losing, the Steelers could sneak up to the number 1. But they would need the Bills and the Chiefs to start losing while the Steelers keep winning. You are asking for that, but what's most important is just keep winning. In regards to the Steelers, yeah, you're praying for those two to happen. You're praying for those two teams to keep losing, or start losing, rather. But as we stand now, just worry about yourself. Take it one game at a time and just keep winning.
Right now, that's my main focus.
Me too.
As a Steelers fan, that's my main focus. That's my only focus.
Me too.
As of right now.
Me too.
This team still needs to keep winning in order to clinch a playoff spot and to maintain that number 3 seed.
If we win
at
out,
the very least.
If we win out and Bills lose one more game, we're the number 1 seed. That's what's most important.
Yeah.
Because the Bills and the Chiefs would have, the Bills and the Steelers would have wins over the Chiefs. They would have better conference records over the Chiefs. That would knock the Chiefs down to the number 3 seed.
Yeah.
And then the Bills would have to lose one, like PDG90 said, and the Steelers would have to keep winning. Just keep winning. Just keep winning, and maybe everything surrounding the conference falls in your place, falls right into your laps, and puts us right where we could get a first-round exit, or first-round bye, rather.
Yeah.
Not a first-round exit. We saw too many of those. A first-round bye. Just keep winning.
That's the goal.
In a month's time, I'm expecting the number 3 seed. But could we get anything greater? Yeah, I think it's possible. You're asking a lot. You're asking the most dreadful teams to start winning and beating the top dogs, the empires, really. But any given Sunday is what they say, right? If the Panthers can compete, maybe the other teams can. Those divisional games, they're always tight. This year especially, every single division. All those games have been super close and super competitive. The majority of them, especially the AFC North. The AFC East, maybe not exactly because the Bills are running away with it. They have an undefeated record there. And they've already... Did they already clinch that division?
Yes.
There's no way the Dolphins are coming back.
No.
No way.
No. They got that division in the bag.
Yeah, it's locked.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. It's all about what team wants to play spoiler. But what's most important for the Steelers is just, keep winning. At the end of the day, just find ways to walk out with a victory. Whether it's on the road, whether it's at home, just find ways to win. This Eagles game could be a statement victory for the Steelers at the end of the day. I'm not expecting a victory, but I'm a little hopeful. I'm a little optimistic, cautiously optimistic going into this one. At least keep it close, keep it within range, and show me that competitive nature that you can stick with any team in the NFL. And that'll give me extra confidence going into January. Be like, you know what? You stuck with some of the best teams in the NFL. Maybe we got a shot to make an actual push this time. Maybe this season we can make a legitimate playoff run. So if we lose, yeah, it's going to suck. It might not mean a lot in the grand scheme of things, but show me some legitimacy. Show me some competitive nature. That's what I want to see. That's the one thing I want to get out of the Steelers this weekend. Yeah. A win would be an enormous bonus. It would be a Christmas bonus. We'll see. We'll see this Sunday, man. It's going to be an intense game. It's going to be an intense atmosphere. Maybe the Steelers pull off the upset, guys. You never know. Any given Sunday, anything's possible. And by the sake of a Christmas miracle, 2 weeks ahead, we'll see, right?
Gotta get that dub.
That's what I'm saying.
We gotta get that dub. We have not won in Philly since 1965.
No.
You know, it's been a long, long time. It's been a long streak. But streaks were made to be broken, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. History is meant to be broken sometimes, yeah. Sean Graham says, I will be amazed if the Steelers beat the Eagles. I don't like their chances. I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. If you feel that way, you have every right to feel that way. You have every right to feel that way. I just get a different sense this year. I get a different feeling this time around, man. This team is just something else, you know? Digital Dust, we have a shot with Russ in the offense. Freiermuth needs a lot of targets this week. Couldn't agree more.
He does.
He needs more targets. Williams needs more targets. Calvin Austin needs more targets. Washington needs more targets. Feed all those guys. Those guys are your playmakers. Feed them, man. Wouldn't it be great if we win this week, then next week beat the Ravens in their home to win the division? Patrick Queen hoisting the AFC North crown, says Danny Lund.
In Baltimore of all places.
I think that'd be amazing.
And Baltimore of all places. When's the last time the Ravens even beat the Steelers in Baltimore?
Couldn't tell you.
It's been a minute, right?
I'll tell you shortly. Because I don't know. All I know is they've lost, the last 8 of the 9 games?
Last time Ravens beat the Steelers, it was in Pittsburgh when Mitch threw 3 interceptions. I remember that.
Thanks, Mitch. Bum.
Yeah, Patrick Queen actually picked off one of those passes. I remember that vividly.
The last time Baltimore beat the Steelers in Baltimore was...
When was the last time?
2019.
2019.
December 29th, 2019. No, I'm wrong. Yeah. No, I'm wrong. No, I'm right.
No, you're right. No, because Ben wasn't playing that game.
Yeah, 2019. That was the last year they swept us because we didn't have Ben.
No.
Yeah, the last time the Ravens beat the Steelers in
Lamar
Baltimore.
wasn't starting that game. No, it was RG3.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was a blowout. And
Yeah.
RG3 was the starter.
That was the last time the Ravens beat the Steelers in Baltimore. 2019. 5 fucking years ago.
Duck Hodges was the quarterback too.
Shout out to Ducky.
Yep.
Shout out to Duck Hodges. Shout out to Laney Wilson. Lucky man is Duck Hodges.
Okay.
Tell me when I'm telling lies. But yeah, 2019. So I'm trying to look at it this way. If the Steelers lose, because the Ravens are winning, okay? Like the Giants aren't pulling
Tommy
off
DeVito is not pulling off the Italian upset, okay?
No. The Ravens are going to win, and let's say the Eagles beat the Steelers. That leaves the Ravens 1 game behind the Steelers in the division. But a win versus the Ravens after this week, so week 16, technically next week, that would clinch the division. So no matter what, win or loss this week, a win next week versus the Ravens is incredibly important. It will literally clinch the division for the Steelers if they sweep the Ravens again. So win or loss this week, we need to beat the Ravens next week. But first we got to get through one bird team to get to another bird team. We got to feast on one to get to the next.
Yep.
I like turkey, but I'd rather eat chicken. I can't say that about the Eagles because I feel like it's un-American. Yeah. But I can damn sure... I can't eat a raven, can you? Can you eat ravens?
It's a bird.
Can you eat raven? I don't know. Can you do that? You guys know my philosophy. You guys get my
I get
analogy.
the philosophy, but I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, 2 straight road games on short weeks at that. You're actually searching it up?
Humans can eat crows. Yeah, all right. Steelers got to eat the ravens, man.
Okay. That's another meaning to eat that crow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a throwback. Hell yeah. No, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to look ahead, but yeah, next week's game versus the Ravens is going to be very important because that's if the Steelers win, that clinches the AFC North, and then once we do that, then we can look ahead at the seeding and getting a higher seeding. So that's what's really important.
Yeah.
I just want you guys to keep in mind of everything revolving around the conference, about the Chiefs, about the Bills, and partially the Texans this week, because if they lose, they have everything to fight for versus the Chiefs next week. And that could be everything we need to knock the Chiefs down from the number 1 come Christmas. I don't want to look too far ahead. I just want to throw it out in the universe because I'm looking closely to that. Looking very closely to that. In fact, I'm kind of hoping the Texans lose so they do have everything to fight for versus the Chiefs. They can beat the Chiefs next week, and we can knock the Chiefs down from their number 1 seed come Christmas.
Who does Houston play this week?
The Dolphins. Are the Dolphins still within contention? I think they are.
They're in the hunt, yeah. But they basically need to win out.
They do.
I don't
never know.
Like, Houston.
You never know.
It's in Houston though, but Houston's very hot and cold this year.
Well, they've also been hurt.
That too.
Bills do have the strength of victory over the Steelers based on common opponents. Well, I thought it evened out. Because, like I said, Steelers beat the Ravens, Bills didn't. Bills beat the Colts, Steelers didn't. They both beat the Jets, and they both maybe beat the Chiefs. But if you are talking about strength of victory, then technically, yeah. Technically, you're right. Yes, they would have that over us. So in that case, we would need the Bills to start losing in the division so that they have a worse divisional record than us. Because that also plays a part into a tiebreaker between those two.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into the tiebreakers, but all I know is it's going to be very close if both teams keep winning. But essentially, Steelers need to keep winning, and then they need to hope the Bills lose. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Anything extra is better. But you can keep looking around the surroundings of the conference. I know I'm going to. But what's ahead, the road sign I'm looking at the most and where I'm going to is just let's just look forward. Let's just worry about ourselves. Let's worry about where we stand right now. You know, we're the Steelers. We can only focus on our own destiny. We can only control our own destiny. The Steelers can only control where they go and what happens for the rest of the season. So just worry about themselves right now. Hopefully everything falls in line. Just keep winning, man.
Yeah.
So, chat. I'm going to put a poll in the chat for you guys. I know it's very basic, but do you think the Steelers pull off the upset? Yes or no? I'm going to put that poll in the chat. You guys can get your polls in. Be as honest. Be as unbiased. But again, I picked the Eagles on my pick'em this week. It's the first time I picked against the Steelers all year. I'm hoping I'm wrong, clearly. That's just my honest opinion. Weston Brady says, got to stop Saquon. Dude is averaging 3 yards before he is even touched. That's wow. I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
That's wow. He's averaging, wow.
That's a new stat to me.
Before he's touched, Najee wishes.
That's a
And I love Najee.
That's not only a testament.
Yo.
That's not only a testament to Barkley, but
That line.
Eagles' O-line, man, is just so dominant. Honestly, when I look at that offensive line of Philly, it's what I envision and hope for the Steelers' offensive line to be down the road.
Dude, they picked up Mekhi Becton and moved him to guard.
You know how young and youthful and talented that line is, dude?
Very.
Lane Johnson is the oldest guy on that line at 34, but he doesn't look like he's 34 and he doesn't play like he's 34.
No, everyone else they have is in like long-term deals and they're so young. Cam Jerkins is still in a rookie contract. Mekhi Becton's getting a second chance on his career. Dickerson and Mailata are on long-term deals.
Yeah.
Like that line is just good. Now, keep in mind, they have allowed, I believe, 34 sacks this year, which is tied for 6th most. So I do want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
It's young, but Jerkins has allowed, 4 or 5 sacks this year. Beckton's allowed like 2 or 3 this year. Lane Johnson's getting up there in age,
Well, Johnson has not given up 1 sack.
True.
Not 1 this year. For a 34-year-old right tackle,
Yeah.
not 1 yet.
It's impressive. Impressive.
Watt and Johnson, that's going to be a fun matchup, by the way.
We're going to need another big game from Alex Highsmith.
He's got Jordan Mailata, man, a former rugby player that is arguably the best left tackle in the league right now.
This is iron sharpens iron, man. Like, this is going to be such a scrappy battle between these two teams.
The trenches for both sides, for the Steelers' offensive line going up against the Eagles' D-line, and the Eagles' offensive line going up against the Steelers' D-line, the trenches are going to be fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
The trenches are going to be something that's going to be must-see. It's going to be fun to watch, and it's really it could be the make or break for either team.
Yeah.
In this game, really.
Absolutely. It matters who wins in the trenches more or better. And I'm thinking, I think my biggest goal to victory, my biggest key to victory is you got to get points on the board early. You got to get points on the board before the Eagles start. The Eagles suck in the first quarter. They suck, and they are one of the worst teams in the first quarter at getting points. Only 17 points all year in the first quarter combined. That's it. The Steelers need to make the Eagles, they need to make Hurts come back from behind. They need to get points on the board rapidly and quick. It's going to be hard, but I think it's a lot easier than trying to slow down Saquon. So that's the way the Steelers have a chance. That's their best chance. You got to make them play from behind. You can't allow them to run the ball. You got to force the game into Hurts' hands. You got to get points on the board somehow. Maybe a big effect of that is the defense makes plays and gives the offense perfect field position. We'll see. Hopefully this entire team just benefits each other and they all rally to make the upset this weekend, man. Talking about it, I'm getting a little antsy. I'm getting a little excited, but I'm still not expecting a victory. A victory would be incredible. We'll see what happens, man. I'm very excited. Can they shut down Barkley? Can anyone?
No team has done so yet.
No. I don't think we can shut down Barkley. We just got to eliminate him completely. That's putting points on the board. You got to make him as minimal of a factor as possible.
Hell, the Ravens couldn't even stop Barkley. They got the number 1 rushing defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man.
How do the Eagles think in the first quarter? They have 17 total points in the first quarter all season. They didn't score points in the first quarter for the first 7 games. They have only scored points in the first quarter in 3 games all season. They are the worst first quarter offense in the league. They average 1.4 points in the first quarter. They stink in the first quarter.
Slow start by Philly.
Just look at the stats, bro. Just look at the stats. In fact, I'll tell you right now. In the first quarter, the Eagles are dead last with 1.3 actually points per game in the first quarter. The Steelers are 22nd and 3.5. Thanks, Boz.
That's why I say this game's going to be heavily defensive.
Yes.
It's not going to be high scoring. Both these teams start very slow in the first half. Then they really start to get it going in the second half. That's where you're really going to see most of the action, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Is that second half. But do I see this being high scoring? Absolutely not.
No.
Now with these two defenses that don't allow a lot of points.
No.
And that can garner turnovers.
In fact, in terms of points per game allowed defensively, I think the Eagles are 4th and I think the Steelers are 5th.
Yeah.
Let me confirm that, but I know they're right neck and neck with each other. But the Steelers got to start fast, man. Like I know they don't do it often.
Yeah, Eagles are 4th at 18, Steelers are 5th with 18.3.
Yeah.
So you can kind of expect, something, around that range, up to par around that range right there.
Yeah.
I fully expect it to be extremely defensive.
I could see a couple turnovers forced by both defenses. I just hope that the defense plays as strong as they can. And I'm hoping the offense can just respond in any way. That's their best chance. Maybe they get a big help from the defense early on and the offense takes advantage and they capitalize off of turnovers early, maybe. Fingers crossed. But they got to start fast. Their only chance. Otherwise, if they allow the Eagles to get points on the board first and they allow Barkley to get going and they allow Barkley to run the clock out, it's over. You're not beating the Eagles. No one's beating the Eagles by that. You're not stopping Barkley. You got to minimize him. You got to minimize him as a factor. That's preventing him from running the ball. The way to do that is to make them come from behind with points. It's the only chance the Steelers have. I think we'll stop Barkley from rushing, but not from catching screens. So we'll have more receiving yards than rushing. That's possible. You might be right. And Barkley, he's a dual threat. He doesn't do it often, but he's a fucking dual threat.
Mm-hmm.
We both are second half teams. Absolutely. Jordan, you're absolutely correct. The Eagles are one of the worst first quarter offenses. They still put up a lot of points, damn it. Wow. Unbelievable. It's like they start slow, but does it matter? Not really. Because no one's been able to get points on them rapidly yet. Maybe the Steelers can find a way to do so.
That's a testament of the Eagles' defense, though, too.
Absolutely. You got to look at the schedule. They got a weak schedule. Philadelphia really didn't play nobody but Baltimore and Tampa Bay, and they lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Yeah, that was their last loss. But I will give the Eagles this. They didn't have Brown or Devonta Smith in that game. Their number one receiver was Dotson. Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, quite the addition he's been for Philly.
I know.
As number three.
They didn't have Brown or Smith in that game, and they got blown out. But that was their last loss. They've been healthy ever since. So
Should also mention, Philly does not also have Dallas Goedert. He's on IR. Goddard's been on IR for a couple weeks.
that's new to me.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
Fuck no.
Yeah. Dallas Goedert is on IR.
Oh.
He's looking to come back around playoff time, but no, he's on IR. Yeah. He got hurt.
Wow,
He's been dealing with injuries all season anyway,
Where
which is
have I-
unfortunate because Goddard's a hell of a tight end.
Where have I been?
Yeah.
Wow, that is fresh information to me. Okay.
Fresh. Yeah, the tight end they have backing him up is Grant Calcaterra, if I even pronounced that right.
Yeah. He's had a couple games this year where he's had a decent chunk of yardage, so I don't want to sleep on him.
Don't sleep on good old Grant.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to sleep on him because I've the few games I've watched with the Eagles, I've seen him make plays. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to sleep on him. And the way the secondary is allowing chunk yardage, they got to minimize it. JPJ is going to have a better game this week, 100%. If he doesn't, dude, it's going to get ugly quick. A.J. Brown could go off again. Devonta Smith could go off. He hasn't had a great last string of games when he's been healthy, but this could be one of those games he goes off. I don't know. This could be a game Calvin Austin goes off. This could be a game Mike Williams goes off. We'll see. Anything can happen in this game. This is one of those games that's kind of unpredictable to call because it could go either way in a sense, but going in, I exactly don't know what to expect. I have thoughts, I have theories, but, going into this, is it going to be defensive? Probably. But exactly how is the game going to go? I don't know. All I hope for is we don't get blown out. I don't think that's going to be the case. But overall, this game, I feel like it's going to be scrappy. I think it's going to be defensive. It's going to be one of those gritty battles. It's going to come down to who strikes first, who coughs up the ball more, and who wins in the trenches the most. It's really the battle of the Pennsylvania Bulldogs.
Basically.
If you think about it.
Basically. If you're a Georgia Bulldog, you are guaranteed to be an Eagle or Pittsburgh Steeler down the road.
You are guaranteed to be in Pennsylvania. So, welcome to the Keystone State. Hope you enjoy your stay.
Where do you think Carson Beck goes?
I don't care. He sucks.
I know he's not good. He's not good.
He sucks. And he's hideous.
Yeah, he's not a good player. No. I believe he's declaring for the draft. Is that right?
I don't know.
Is he?
Probably.
Is he a part of this upcoming quarterback draft class?
Mike Williams going to probably be in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, that's the new. That's the island, I suppose. It's
Guantanamo Bay.
It's not Mitchell Island. No, it's
I'll tell you right now.
Quinyon. Yeah.
If Van Jefferson gets the most snaps of all the receivers this week, there's a problem with Arthur Smith. And 100% is he going to be locked down on Guantanamo Bay.
I'm going to tell you right now.
It's not going to be Harold and Kumar go to Guantanamo Bay. It's going to be Van Jefferson goes to Guantanamo Bay or Guantanamo Bay.
I'm going to tell you right now, Van Jefferson going up against Quinion Mitchell. It's over. Vince Carter. It's over. I'm sorry. Van Jefferson is not going to do anything against Quinion Mitchell.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, he's not.
I'm sorry. I'm being real with you guys. I am.
No, he's not.
Props to him making plays, but he makes one catch a game.
Yeah, roughly.
This guy gets 50 snaps at wide receiver, and he makes one catch. Mike Williams gets 19. The guy makes about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? Get Mike Williams more involved.
You guys
That's all I ask.
You guys are crazy, man. Do you think the Steelers pull off the upset? 64% say yes.
Possible.
64%, man. It's a little more of a wider margin than I thought. I thought it was going to be a close one, man. I thought it was going to be a close one. We'll see. I mean, what I'm going to be most looking forward to is how is the O-line going to match up against that D-line? The O-line has done good the last 2 weeks, but they have their toughest task against a lot of pun intended bulldogs.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
We got one on the right side, a right tackle, who's been playing stellar the past number of weeks.
Yeah.
He's been stepping up. Props to him. Glad to see Broderick really stepping up.
Him versus Nolan Smith could be interesting.
You got McCormick and Frazier going up against the 2 Bulldogs and Davis and Carter. They're going to have their hands full against those 2 young studs. And those are two guys right there, and Carter and
Carter and Davis.
Yeah, I just had a brain fart, my bad. Yeah, Carter and Davis. Yeah, I mean, they just wreaked havoc in Georgia. Now they're teammates again. But those are 2 studs on the Eagles D-line. But we got 2 studs on the O-line for the Steelers.
Yeah, Frazier and McCormick have been perfect since that Colts game. Perfect. 0 issues. McCormick is a hell of a pull guard. You know, he's opening lanes. He hasn't given up a single sack all year, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Frazier's been rock solid. Unbelievable what they got, man, in those 2 guys, man. Once we get Fatanu back next year, oh, God, that right side is just clean. Clean. If Fatanu is able to get to speed as soon as he can, that right side is clean. Move Broderick back over to the left. The line's looking solid. As long as everyone lives up to their pedigree. So far, the line's done good the last 2 weeks. Let's hope it steps up, man. It's really gonna matter to them. Because I do believe Russ can allow other receivers to make plays or give the receivers opportunities. It's up to the receivers to execute. Receivers got a tough test though against that secondary. We'll see, man.
Yeah, they do.
It's gonna be an intense battle. Arthur Smith, how he's gonna scheme up this game for the offense, knowing he doesn't have Pickens for a full week, will be interesting. Seeing how Terrell Austin's gonna scheme up his defense, knowing he doesn't have Elliott, and he's gonna have to feed and put Minka in the box most likely, and how he's gonna have to cover that deep safety, and how he's gonna try to eliminate that deep ball ability with Hurts and Brown and Smith. That's gonna be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how coaching schemes around their unfortunate guys being out. And
I'm going to tell you right now, if they have Minka in the box and they have no solution to cover the deep ball, and you have JPJ in zone, it's over. I'm telling you right now.
Well, I don't think we have a corner that can keep up deep. We need that safety. We need that deep. We need that security blanket. It'll probably be Sutton or Rowe because I don't think it's going to be Casey.
Well, that's why they have to keep Minka deep. They have to keep Minka where he's been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But who's going to cover the box?
I don't know.
It's Minka.
We don't have that extra outside of Minka. But then you're filling the void for the deep ball. Who you got there to fill it? You're screwed regardless, aren't you?
Or Sutton or Rowe. I don't think I trust any of those guys, but that's your best option.
Do you trust it? I think you're screwed regardless.
Do you stop Barkley or do you stop the deep ball?
Well, you got to start. That's why I bring up Roberts getting more snaps than usual.
Sure.
You may just have to work on the inside linebackers having to do that. And Roberts, and Patrick Queen, and Peyton Wilson. They may just heavily rely on that.
Maybe they play more 3-4. Maybe they play more bodies on that D-line.
They could do that. I mean, Hayward's been just playing out of his mind for his age.
Instead of running as much nickel or dime, maybe they run a lot more base. Maybe they run a lot more bodies in that box. I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see how Austin schemes around everything. it's going to be a testament of not only this team, but especially coaching. Because they have some near impossible tasks at their hand right now. But again, if there was a game for it to happen, if there was a game for those guys to miss, it's this one because it's out of conference. It doesn't mean too much, but at least we know, fingers crossed, they'll be back versus the Ravens because that's when it gets really important. So at least we know, fingers crossed, we have that. Hopefully their hamstring injuries are all as clean and clear as possible for next week. We'll see. I mean, they're kind of on a short week because they play technically next Saturday. So it's a short week, but I mean, at least hopefully they'll be as healthy as they can. We'll see. I just hope for the best. Hope for the best, and I hope the Steelers still walk away with a dub, or at least give us some resemblance that they are competitive and they can stick with teams, man. Because that will give me some extra confidence that they can make a run, that they can stay competitive. That will give me something to be proud of, even in defeat. So we'll see, man. It's gonna be an intense game. I can't wait for it. You guys know we'll be live for it, so I can only imagine the energy throughout all 60 minutes of football. Those 3.5, 4 hours is gonna be some wild stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the game is as close as I hope and pray it is. I don't know, man. Let's see. 69, nice percent of you guys say that the Steelers will pull off the upset. So it went up. In fact, let me get one more poll in the chat for you guys.
ST Life says Fields would actually give the Steelers a better chance of winning this game. Facts.
No, he doesn't.
ST Life, I respectfully have to disagree on that.
I don't think so.
Russ gives the Steelers the best option or the best chance of winning.
Fields doesn't spread the ball around. He doesn't read defenses like Russ. He doesn't audible like Russ.
You still want to use Fields packages? By all means, just do them in the right circumstances and don't overdo it. Don't be overly predictable about it. You
Right.
can still utilize Fields in some way or fashion. But as far as who is the best quarterback to lead the charge right now, that gives them the best chance, it is Russ. That's been indicated. That's been showcased several times.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna put a new poll in the chat. What receiver needs to step up the most? I'm only gonna put 3 because these are the main 3. Mike Williams, Calvin Austin, or Van Jefferson. Which wide receiver needs to step up the most? Let us know you guys' polls in the chat. While you guys do that, feel free to get your polls in the chat. We will give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this live stream. Shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us on the entire NFL season, but especially for Week 15, as they have all the betting lines, as we showed earlier. But they also have the prop builder, the over-unders, player doubles, touchdowns, first touchdowns, passing, rushing, receiving, all of the odds for every single game for Week 15. So I want to look at receiving yards for the Steelers and the Chiefs because I think it would be kind of interesting just to look at it, seeing that Pickens isn't part of it. So A.J. Brown, his over-under is 82.5. Calvin Austin's 25.5. Mike Williams is 21.5. Really? Van Jefferson is 23.5. Pat Freiermuth is 33.5. Wow, a lot of these are, I wouldn't say they're low, but how much are we really going to have a strong passing attack? You know what I mean? But I'm going to take that Mike Williams over because I think he'll get a moon ball or two. So yeah, I'll take that Mike Williams over. Let's look at rushing. What is Saquon's rushing yards over under? I can only imagine. His over under rushing is 100.5.
Yeah.
Does he get over that?
It's kind of hard to see how he doesn't, considering Elliott's out, Ogunjobi's out. You know, they're going to be without 2 key run stuffers there.
Right.
Though the Steelers defense, they've allowed just a little over 91 rushing yards per game. But again, they're going to be without some key run stuffers. So, I could see Barkley getting just over that.
I don't see how you don't take that. I'm going to take his over, and I'm going to take Jaylen Warren's over in rushing yards. I think he gets 30. Warren's a dog. Feed him more. And let's do touchdown for fun purposes. I'll be real with you, man. I'm really fearing a Devonta Smith touchdown. I don't know why. I just fear a Devonta Smith touchdown. Or do you want to go someone else?
No, I can see Smith. I mean, like, he's still a credible number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, his hands are just very strong for his size. I mean, he hardly drops the ball, and he's just a speedster at that, too.
Right. Well, I'm going to put all that into a 4-bet slip, and the odds are 1,900 to 1. So, I mean, yeah, you're asking for a little bit. You're asking kind of for a lot, but I mean, that's kind of what sports betting's for. We're going to put 5 on it. The return is 100. I'm going to place this and confirm. If you guys want to tailor this, feel free to do so at betus.com. BetUS is a sports book you guys should be looking at if you guys are looking for a new sports book for the remainder of the NFL season, plus any other sports you guys are looking forward to. Take advantage of their 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% on your next 2 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150 when signing up at betus.com. Take advantage of that promo code and those sign-up bonuses, plus the fast and easy deposit, withdrawal in the entire industry. 24/7 personalized service every single day. So much more from our great friends over at BetUS. Huge shout out to them for sponsoring with us this video. Just please gamble responsibly.
Update on the poll. What receiver, by the way, you capitalized WNH with what?
I know I did.
What receiver needs to step up the most versus the Eagles? 62% says Mike Williams. If he gets the playing time, if he gets the snaps necessary.
Right.
I think he can.
Yeah, electric visuals. I don't know why people want OBJ, bro. He sucks. He's washed. He's overrated. No, thank you.
Yeah, he and the Dolphins mutually parted ways.
Dude, the Dolphins season's essentially over, and they let him go, bro. What does that tell you?
Where does OBJ go from here?
Retirement.
I couldn't care less.
Retirement. He has done nothing.
Watch him go to Kansas City.
He has done nothing.
Watch him go to Kansas City.
He can go to Kansas. I don't care.
Watch him.
I don't want him.
Watch him.
First of all, he's washed.
Maybe he'll go back to Baltimore because Deontay's suspended.
Dude, I don't care. He's washed, and I don't want him in the locker room. I don't.
The Giants could use him.
I'm sure the Giants could use him. Go home.
Should go home.
I don't want OBJ. I'm out of that.
No. If anybody's asking about that, please, for the love of God, no. It's not happening.
Marquise Brown coming back for the Chiefs? I thought he was out for the year. I mean, I know his injury happened pretty quick. Is Hollywood Brown really going to be back for the Chiefs game? Oh, he returned to practice. That's a sign.
Okay.
Well, they could be getting a speedster back.
Hollywood Brown.
Another one.
There you go.
Good for the Chiefs.
Electric Village says Scotty Miller versus Cooper DeJean once in a lifetime. It's a must-see matchup, Danny.
I don't know how you don't see that and get excited, bro. I mean, it's just
I
must
hear
watch
voices
television.
in the air.
It's
I hear them loud and clear.
Cena and The Rock, bro. I mean, it's must see television.
Telling me to listen.
If it was on a streaming platform, you would have to get a trial. Not even a trial. You would literally have to pay money to see that battle, dude. It's unbelievable stuff.
Tell you what, Scotty Miller's gonna moss Cooper.
If Scotty Too Hottie scores this weekend, I am gonna flip my shit.
I'll do the worm. You think I'm bullshitting?
He's not gonna. How are we gonna show the worm? How are we gonna show? What am I gonna angle the camera?
Yeah, make it work.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. You guys can clip this too. I don't care. If Scotty Too Hottie, Scotty Miller scores a touchdown, we are doing the dance that Rikishi and Too Cool did back in the Attitude Era.
Oh my God!
We'll get music and everything.
Just download it. Put it on the roadcaster.
We gotta get the shades.
Where the hell are you gonna find them shades?
I don't know. At a gas station.
At a gas station.
Yeah, you know how they always have that sunglasses stand and they got like the kid sunglasses.
Yeah, but not like the one Rikishi had.
We don't need lookalikes.
Oh jeez.
Just saying, bro. Could have happened, maybe.
Probably unlikely.
Fields is mobile and better suited to avoid the Eagles' rush. I mean, you're not wrong. I don't disagree with that. He's a lot more mobile, so I understand why you say that.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. We all know that. He can extend the play, use his legs, and get out the pocket if he needs to.
I just don't think he brings anything extra to the passing attack. He can't do what Russ does. He's a little more mobile, absolutely. Russ definitely holds the ball on too long, for sure. I don't disagree with that. It is 12:15. Yes, it is. It is actually Saturday. 1 week from now, it will be game day for the possibility to clinch the AFC North.
Yep, that's right.
But first, we got to get to the Eagles, man. We got to get to the Eagles first. Yes, I said Rikishi. Yes, I said. That's, for those that don't know, the reason we call Scotty Miller Scotty Too Hotty is because it's a reference to Scotty Too Hotty from Attitude Era. For those that don't know.
Too cool. Sky Too Hotty, Grandmaster Sexay.
I grew up. I watched VHS tapes. If you guys know what those are.
Does anybody remember the 2000 Royal Rumble when all three of them were in the ring and they did that dance until Rikishi eliminated them both?
There's only one thing I remember from the 2000 Royal Rumble, and I'd rather not talk about it. If you know, you know.
Oh, dude, why did you bring that up?
Steelers haven't won in Philly since '65, and no George Pickens Elliott. Steelers by 30. It has upset written all over it. I want to say trap game for the Eagles, but, I mean, the Eagles are in their own house, so is it really a trap?
No.
Not exactly, but it's
not a trap when the Steelers are 10-3. That's not a trap game.
You're right, exactly.
That's not a trap game.
No, but it's just...
A trap game would be the Panthers doing it, but no, it didn't happen.
No. But no, it's just like this. It has upset written all over it. I don't know. I get a great feeling. Y'all forgot what we did to Barkley the first time we played against him in 2020. That was 4 years ago.
To be fair, the Giants were just god-awful.
The Giants are awful. Barkley had no line. And Barkley was not as... Barkley's a different machine. That was 4 years ago.
Just because we stopped him 4 years ago doesn't mean that he's going to have 6 yards again. No, that's not happening.
No.
He's going to get 6 yards off that first carry, I guarantee you.
Maybe.
No. Russell Wilson's not going to out-yardage Saquon Barkley.
No.
Okay?
Not happening. Not even Fields will on some read options if they run those. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, that's just not. Ben had more rushing yards than... That's not going to happen. Not this time.
Ben can hang his hat. That's another resume on his Hall of Fame career. There's that one time I outrushed Saquon Barkley. Outrushed a potential MVP.
Should be MVP.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll close the stream out like that. Who do you guys think should win MVP this year? If there's any player in the league that you think should win MVP, who should it be? I'm going Barkley. Give it to the man. The Eagles aren't this good if they don't sign Barkley. If Barkley goes anywhere else, the Eagles aren't this good.
I'm going Barkley.
You don't see running backs do this.
I would argue Barkley because when I look at the MVP, I don't just look at statistics or just winning record. I look at level of impact.
Yeah.
Barkley has been a humongous impact on that Eagles offense. You take him out of that, the Eagles are not 11-2. They are not this dominant. They are not going on 9 straight wins, potentially 10 this upcoming Sunday. They don't have Barkley. That's not happening.
No. There's 2 front runners for MVP: Barkley or Josh Allen, in that order. Because Josh Allen has put the Bills on his back with no legitimate receivers. He's been astonishing. Yeah. He's had his best season. He's looking legit, and he's been safe with the turnovers for the first time in his entire career. Probably because he doesn't have a receiver crying for the ball every 3 snaps. But I'm giving it to Barkley, man. You just don't see this often.
No, you don't.
And does it fear me? Yeah, it does fear me. But that's the test the Steelers have this Sunday, man. How can they slow down Barkley? Or the better question is, how do they limit Saquon Barkley? There's only one way they do that. They have to start fast. What team has better O-line, D-line, receivers, running back, secondary, linebackers, quarterback? You mean like individually?
Well, if you're thinking individually happy, Eagles got the better O-line.
They have a better D-line.
Would you argue that?
Actually, no. Steelers have a better D-line.
No, I think Steelers have better D-line.
Cam Hayward alone. Steelers have better D-line.
Eagles definitely have better receivers.
Superior.
Running back.
They have better running back.
Barkley. Secondary. Eagles.
Linebackers, it's tough. It's close.
I would argue the Steelers. I really would.
It's close.
I mean, they got 3 starter-worthy linebackers there, and they all just do a damn good job at their assignments.
And as for quarterback, Happy?
Let's ride.
Russ.
Thank you.
Russ is better than Hurts this year.
Chris Boswell for MVP. The last time a kicker won the NFL MVP was 1982, and that was Mark Mosley.
Says Ryan Eugene Lawrence Walls.
Mark Mosley. Hold on. What team was that man playing for?
It is history class, ladies and gentlemen. I did not know this.
Mark Mosley was a kicker. He started with the Eagles. He's a longtime Commanders player. I can't say.
Washington.
Yeah. Yes, he was the NFL MVP, Most Valuable Player of the Year in 1982. Where
In a shortened 1982 season, Mosley converted 23 straight field goals, which was a record at the time.
made a league-leading 20 of 21 field goals and a then record 95.2 success rate, and was responsible for 76 points. That was back in the 80s, so like that's never been heard of when it comes to kickers.
Yeah, it was
at
80s.
that time.
It was 80s.
So, yeah.
It was also a short season, so like, who'd you have to pick? I mean, if you had to pick somebody, who? It's like, it was just one of those weird seasons. Wasn't it like a strike season or something?
I think it was. I can't.
I forget
entirely
what the
remember.
exact reason was, but
I think that same year, Mosley helped lead the Washington team to a Super Bowl.
oh.
So there you go.
If Bengals had a winning record, I'd pick Chase, but Barkley's my pick for now. I think I would agree with that. Because Chase is just unreal. Chase is now. Here's the thing: Chase wouldn't get it because Burrow would. Because who's giving him all those yards? Burrow. Stupid. Kind of stupid.
Yeah, but Chase, like, how many of those catches have been yards after catch? You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly.
Like, just ridiculous.
Unbelievable, man. Crazy stuff. Crazy how this league works sometimes. But yeah, I'm going Barkley. We'll see. We'll see this Sunday, man. It's gonna be a crazy game. It's gonna be an intense atmosphere. It's gonna be in Philadelphia. The Steelers have an impossible task this week. It's a game that doesn't really mean a lot when you look at the whole scene, but the Steelers can clinch a playoff spot. I think a win would be a massive confidence booster, as this is the start of 3 games in 10 days. And just to make a statement around the league, to show some competitive nature, and you'd be like, hey, we have arrived. We are back. We have Russ. He has a lot to offer, and we are here to make a run. I think that says a lot. I think that speaks volumes. I think that'd be crucial for the Steelers team. I already believe in the Steelers team more than I have in previous years, but this would just put icing on the cake. I think a win versus the Eagles, unlikely. I'm not expecting it, but a little optimistic. I think it'd be a statement victory.
It would be.
At the end of the day, here we go, Steelers, and I am absolutely hoping for it. The last time they beat the Eagles in Philly, our owner was 13 years old. Now, as a teenager to an old man, could he see the Steelers beat the Eagles in Philly once again? We'll see.
Been a long time.
Tell you right now, it'll be a first for a lot of people in this chat.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Just saying, man. We'll see what happens. You guys know we'll be live Sunday for the game. I'm going in just wanting a win, hoping for an upset. Not expecting it, but maybe that's what's going to bring the best and the greatest emotion out of Sunday, is maybe the Steelers pull it off. If not, a loss sucks, but show some competitive nature. Give me something to be proud of, and anything extra is a great bonus. But this is the last out-of-conference game. Let's see what the Steelers do. Let's see how the coaching attacks everything, the fact that they don't have some crucial members. It's going to be interesting to see how they scheme everything around. It's going to be interesting to see how the Steelers team approaches. It's going to be very interesting to watch the next Hard Knocks episode to see what they have done behind the scenes to prepare for this, knowing they don't have said guys in this game. It'll be very interesting to how this team rallies in an impossible task here. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, here we go, Steelers. Let's hope for a victory. And then after this, let's move on to the Ravens. But first, the Eagles are in our way. They're in our path. Now it's time to break that wall down, tear that wall down, and get moving with another victory somehow, some way. The Steelers could be 11-3 by 8 o'clock come Sunday night. We'll see what happens. See you guys in the next one. Appreciate you guys for watching as always. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on this Friday night as we preview the Steelers versus Eagles game. So always a fun time to be live and just to talk and chit-chat, not only about the game, but with the chat, and as well as just bring up all of the potential playoff scenarios and the seeding scenarios, which, again, it doesn't exactly start this week, but it all starts next week. So keep that in the back of your mind, man. The Steelers and Bills are really going to be competing for a number 2 seed. Just win, and maybe everything else will fall in line. The Steelers just got to keep finding ways to win, and maybe we'll find ourselves with a higher seeding and better home field advantage.
We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how it plays out, man. See you guys in the next one. See you guys Sunday for the game. With that being said, you guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy you guys' weekend. Make it a strong one. And shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and consider for sponsoring with us this live stream. Take advantage of their 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% on your next 2 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150 when signing up at BetUS.com today. Take advantage of all those great perks from our great friends over at BetUS. Thanks to them for sponsoring us. Appreciate you guys for watching as always. You guys kill it every stream, every week. Love you guys, man. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your night. See you in Sunday. I'm going to be fired up for Sunday, man. That's all I know. See you guys then, man. Here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!